Welcome back to part 3 of my custom four-wheel drive drawers. Whatever it is, my drawer build. See, you would have watched me last video, part 2. Need I say more? Let's hope today's a lot more successful. But I have learnt a few things over a night. I spoke to my mate, Stephen, that is an actual, cabinet maker. And he told me I used the saw incorrectly. Whereas I was cutting this way, I should have been cutting this way with the blade up against here. So I'm going to give that a shot. I'm going to cut off a lot less, that way if it's not successful then I won't lose too much of this timber. I want to try to get it perfect as much as I can, so I'm going to give this a one more shot. What do we got here? So Steve told me most of them about an inch and a half. So this one's actually got more of a space in between here. So we're looking at 4 centimeters there. So I need to go 4 centimeters back from here. So eventually, once I get a really straight line, we're going to use this Kreg rip cut jig. So how this works, basically, the saw just gets mounted in here like so. And as you can see, it's adjustable right out to 24 inches, I believe, which is 61 centimeters. So my cuts are going to be around about the 36 centimeters wide. So as you've seen, unfortunately, we can't go out that extra bit of inch and a half. It would have been nice, because not realising when we cut that plastic off yesterday that there was indeed, at the further end, there was indeed a bit of metal, hence why that plastic was moulded over the metal. Hey, like I mentioned yesterday, this is not a show car. I'm not going to go and take this to a show and look for prizes or trophies. I was going to set this up later after I get a nice straight cut here. But I'm going to use this in order to help me get a nice right angle from the end with this bar. So, fingers crossed. Let's hope today is going to be a lot better than yesterday. So I don't know if you guys have ever been anywhere where the humidity's at 100% and temperatures approaching pretty much around 30 degrees, but then being inside this tin shed, add another 5, 6 or probably even 10 degrees to that, and add 100% humidity. Guys, I only just walked in here when I started filming and I'm already feeling it. So what we're going to do is keep the video short each day, so it means it's going to take longer to complete this. But yeah, it's just too hot in here, guys. I worked out, I think, about 6 centimeters. Let's put a clamp on. I'm using these Irwin quick grits. As I mentioned, I'm going to give this one more shot. I don't really have the right tools for the job, do I? I need one of those big bandsaws where you sit the whole sheet on and cut that right through. So we're definitely going to do a little bit each day until it starts to get too hot inside here. Alright, we're ready to give this a shot. I'm going to try to wear some protective gear right now. Right, let's see what we got. Certainly looks a lot better than what it was. Oh wow. Oh guys. Wow. Alright Steve, you watching? Hey, thanks for that tip. I think that's worked perfectly. I'm buttoning this right up against here. I can't see any light coming through. And that seems to be flush up against that. There we go. I'm happy at that. Finally got a straight edge, guys. Finally. Success. Now that we've got a perfectly nice straight edge to work off, so hopefully from now on all the edges are going to be nice and flush together, so that when we use that Kreg pocket hole jig kit that I've got, they'll be all nice and tight and no gaps in between. So that should help to assist in keeping it all in shape, should I say. Let's hope. Right, now let's see how far exactly we got to work with. So just excuse my back. So it looks like we got 37, yes, 37 centimeters wide we can work with. I know there is some calibration that needs to be done with these. So virtually now all I do from now on is cut. So I use this jig, as you can see. So the whole saw here, I just run along that edge. I know now I've got a nice, smooth, clean, straight cut along here. That's very accurate. So the saw now going to go in here. A video on how to set this up, and I watched it probably a dozen times. So I'm going off memory here now. Now I remember them mentioning, first thing we need to install the saw onto this glide mechanism. Pretty much going to show you everything in this video, guys, so I might as well make it, I don't know how many parts it's going to be, but it looks like it's going to be quite a number of parts. However many parts is going to be end up is what it'll end up. So what we'll do is try to keep each video shorter, so having different stages, different sections as such. So we need to, first thing we need to do is we need to get the space in this gap here, very important that this is free. That looks ideal there. And you've got a little adjuster here on the end. Now once you get the right spacing, you tighten this up, and then from now on, each time I add this on here, it should be set. There, that looks good. I think that's where we need to be. Set it once, set it properly, you won't have any issues. I'll put this on the edge here. So there's two other clamps on here that clamp onto the front. So I'm just going to put them on now. I think we're done. So you can see how that's mounted on. Well, wait a minute. Get it right, Phil. Okay. So that's how that's mounted. If you look over here, there's this little red line. So what we need to do now is to calibrate that. So if I set that on 37 centimeters on that, I want to make sure it's cutting at 70 centimeters width. So we need to adjust that. I installed this the wrong way around. You saw how I had it before, the blade is on the outside. The blade has to be on the inside. But this one here needs to go that way because the blade's on the right hand side. Which you need to have that blade just barely touching this guide here. And then we need to zero it off, put this marking on 0 here. And then what we do is we make a cut set at 1 inch, and then we'll measure how wide that cut is, and then if it's shorter or wider, we then adjust that by how many mils it is out by. We adjust that on this little gauge here. So I want to do it properly, I want to get these accurate measurements. I think we're there now. And then we clamp this down. So this is all going to take a little bit of time, all this preparation and setup. But if we do this properly right now, we're not going to have any issues later on. Oh, and now what we do is set this over the edge like so. Now, adjust this to 1 inch. So that is now ready for our first cut. Looks good to me. Oh, perfect guys, I don't see any light in that. So we got success there. $25 centimeters, that's an inch. So it looks like we're spot on. Is that we will be able to cut our first piece. Bloody exciting, guys. Man, can a bloke be any more clumsy? Far out, honestly. Let's get the broom and clean off a bit of area here. What I like about this is the fact that I now don't have to take any measurements. With all the measurements, I can get off that jig. So let's set this to 37. So that's our first cut. So what I'm going to do now is I need to find a way to support this. So what I'm cutting, so I'll have to get some timber or something and prop up against it. So I'll just set that up now and then I'll show you the cut.